All right. Give it a second, let it breathe. Get my shirt straight. Welcome to the halfway point of the semester. After this, we'll be into the second half of the 16-week semester. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here at week 8. This is Anatomy and Physiology with your professor, Dr. Sean Clavel. And so we've gone through quite a bit already. We've gone through the chemical level of organization. We talked really basics, and one of the major things that we start off with is directional terms. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from chapter 1 that we're really going to start to use a lot in this next in these next couple of chapters, as it relates to bones and then muscles and even the nervous system. The anatomical directions is a big component. We talked about the chemical and cellular level. We identified different tissues. We talked about the integumentary system. And now we are getting into the skeletal system, bones. We are jumped into kind of chapter 6, which is bone tissue. And now we're just going to identify. Chapters 7 and 8 are really just hard rote memorization, just identifying those different bones and those different bony landmarks. So where do I want to go with this from here? Let me take a look at your canvas here, just trying to give you the look at what we have going here. Start in modules. That's usually where our class lives. If we go here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we've got that exam date here. It'll be that week. And so we've got the chapter 6, chapter 7, and chapter 8. These are the components that are going to comprise the next exam. So chapter 6 is this was a little bit of this week, a little bit of last week. We talked about all the bones. We've got some beautiful lectures here. There's 9 parts to it, and hopefully you've been able to go through them. In my my in-person classes, going through them currently. We finished up all the way to endochondral ossification and intramembranous ossification. We'll talk a little bit about bone fractures and repair in our next class. And then we also jumped into the axial skeleton, so identifying all the bones of the skull, the vertebrae. You can see here we've got 9 different sections here. So again, the bones of the skull is pretty extensive. So being able to break it down into 2 different lectures here is what I did. You've got the thoracic, cervical, the vertebral. They're kind of out of order. I should fix this, huh? The vertebral column, the cervical vertebrae, the thoracic vertebrae, and the lumbar vertebrae. Then the sacrum and the coccyx. So again, we'll be jumping into this in my online class. My in-person class this week as well. And then the appendicular skeleton, so we'll go over this as well, going over the starting from either the shoulder or the hip all the way out to the fingers and feet. So the next big ones are going to be related to all the different parts of these bones. So what do I say here? One of the big things that you want to identify is just go to the outline. Right, you go to the outline here, and so the first part here goes over some of the projections, the different bony landmarks. So some of these names associated with bony landmarks might be helpful in the sense that they are associated with different types of features. So these, like a tuberosity, is a bunch of roughened bumps. Crest is more of an elongated ridge. A trochanter is unique to the femur, and there are 2 in projections from the femur. The line is a thin projection that comes off of the bone. So the femur has a linea aspera as a line. The tubercle as well. It's like a trochanter but smaller. And again, the trochanter is only on the femur, so you might see a tubercle like on the humerus. But then we get into the bony landmarks, and this is the other part that we want to go over here. So you can see here, so we talk about the skull. There is the skull is comprised of 22 bones. I see what I did there. It's made of 22 bones. There's 8 cranial bones, or bones of the cranium, or what else would we call it? The calvaria, or even like the brain case. And then the facial bones. So there's 14 facial bones. And so not only should we be familiar with the bones specifically, but also some of the features associated with them. So like the zygomatic bone has an orbital process, it's got a temporal process and a maxillary process. The sphenoid bone has a couple of features: the greater wing, the lesser wing, the pterygoid process, and the sella turcica, as well as a number of others. So you want to be familiar with the features here as well as the bones themselves. So, needless to say, that what you'll find is when you get into the lecture slides, so the lecture slides are right below. There's an awfully big slide here. Let's download it. Oh, sorry. Let's download it that way. Put it on my desktop, I guess. And so what you'll find is that, there it is, we'll pop it in there. It's basically just a lot of pictures. So this has, all of these pictures associated. It's actually a PowerPoint file. I can make it a PDF, but there it is. The cranial bones, all of the features associated with the cranial and so it's really, again, the concept of all these pictures here that we're getting familiar with, and so using that to identify all of the bones of the skull, whether it's the frontal bone. You can see the frontal bone here. There it is. There's the anterior cranial fossa, the parietal bones, right? The temporal bone. So getting familiar with all of these features and bones is going to be important. There we go. And so that's going to be the components of chapters 7 and 8, just getting familiar with these bones and the different parts and pieces. What else did I want to hit up here? Yeah, let me show. So you're going to have 2 parts to this next exam as well. So imagine here, I'll give you a couple of examples here of what you would want to identify as it relates to some of the associated pictures. So A, being familiar osteology, right? So some of the practice there you might be familiar with, that you want to be familiar with, is like the osteon, right? Like what are the features of the osteon, whether it's that one right there, kind of what are those called as well. And again, what you'll see is that you'll have you'll be asked like what is the there you go, like what is the name of that bone that's highlighted there. So you're going to get a picture of a skull or some feature like that, and you'll be asked to identify what is the bone that is being highlighted. You can see this one being highlighted there in that color there. Let's see if there's another one here that I might be able to identify, help you guys with. But yeah, the practical will comprise of pictures of different bones. Again, we've been talking about the skull here. Next week we'll get into the arms and the legs, but there's also vertebrae that we should get familiar with as well. Right. And so again, I encourage you guys to take a look at, you can see here the Anatomy Standard is the website that I was utilizing. But how would you practice for something like this? There's a number of different uh, websites and web pages that are associated with leave that student's view, that are associated with finding Bodhi landmarks. So you can put in a practice quiz, whether it's a purposeful game, purpose game, purpose game, purpose. So so I typed into my bar bony landmarks quiz, right? So bone landmarks, yeah, bone for bone landmarks quiz. And so there's one called purpose games here. And so you can even see like the femur. So you can go to the femur. I picked that one quickly. And you can see here, I guess that's as much as it goes. Let me see if I can. There you go. That there's a number of different features associated with the femur here. Let's press play. Oh, let's see where I push play. I'm going to refresh this right quick. Hopefully I'll find where play is. See. Push play there. And so the greater trochanter is what it's asking. Where is the head of the femur? The shaft of the femur? The linea aspera, or that narrow line that runs down the posterior component, the medial epicondyle, so the head of the femur points medially, the medial epicondyle would be on the medial side, the lesser trochanter is pressed seen from the posterior perspective, the patellar surface sits at the distal portion of the femur, the lateral condyle, again, head of the femur points medially, so the lateral condyle is the one that's away from that. The neck of the femur is just adjacent to the head, or distal to the head. The medial condyle is underneath the head of the femur, and then the lateral epicondyle. Did I win? Cool. It's the fastest. 8 seconds. Wow. I won't do it again. But nonetheless, you can see that these purpose games are really good at identifying these different. So let's see if we can find some bones. So anterior skull bones, bones of the body. You can identify the carpal bones, hand bones, bones in the human foot. These purpose games, long bone anatomy, which will definitely be utilized. And you can even create a printable worksheet here. But yeah, take a look at these purpose games. I think that would be one of the best ways to identify the different features associated with the different vertebrae and other bones of the body. So that's kind of my giveaway for the day here. Keep on the lookout as these new assignments will come in. And so this is the big one here. We're going to be going over all the bones of the body. So take your time looking at all the different features, whether it's the pelvic bones, the tibia, the fibula. Let's play one more here for you guys. Let's see. Let's have some fun here. You want to do the foot? Sure. Not that good with the. Yeah, we'll play flip. So your metatarsals sit right here. Your middle phalanges sit right there. No? Proximal phalanges, sorry. Your calcaneus. Your talus. So your cuneiforms are the, oh, you can't really see my highlighted bones here, but your cuneiforms are the 3 bones that sit in the kind of the middle of the foot, just proximal to the metatarsals here. And so you've got the medial, the intermediate, and the lateral cuneiform. So the middle one is your intermediate. Your navicular is a bone that sits just in front of the talus. Your distal phalanges sit just distal. Your proximal phalanges are the proximal ones. I don't know how to say that. Lateral cuneiform, as I mentioned, you've got that one on the outside of the foot. The cuboid sits on the outside of the foot as well. And then you've got the middle cuneiform there on the inside. So you can see there. I missed one. That's a little upsetting, but I'll be okay. But yeah, take a look at these. These are pretty fun ones today, and you guys can practice and continue to work on that. 6 seconds is pretty good. All right. Well, you guys, won't keep you here for too long. Just wanted to review a couple of things, hop on the recording and say hi. But until then, I look forward to seeing your responses here in these next couple assignments, as well as the exam. Again, we'll take 2 components here. The practical will include 50 pictures, and the multiple choice will continue to be multiple choice and short answer, multiple answer questions. But again, that's it for me. You guys take care and best wishes.